Mets. Step right up and greet the Mets. Bring your kiddies, bring your wife. Guaranteed to have the time of your life, because the Mets are really socking the ball, knocking those home runs over the wall. East side, west side, everybody's coming down to meet the METS Mets of New York town. Oh, the butcher and the baker and the people on the streets, where do they go? To meet the Mets! Oh, they're hollering and cheering and they're jumping in their seats. Where do they go? To meet the Mets! All the fans are true to the orange and blue, so hurry up and come on down, 'cause we got ourselves a ball club, the Mets of New York town. Give 'em a yell! Give 'em a hand! And let 'em know you're rooting in the stand. Come on and meet the Mets. Meet the Mets. Step right up and greet the Mets. Bring your kiddies, bring your wife. Guaranteed to have the time of your life, because the Mets are really socking the ball, knocking those home runs over the wall. East side, west side, everybody's coming down to meet the METS Mets of New York town, of New York town.
And we are live, Mets and baseball fans. Thank you all so much to everyone first chiming in, whether you are here live now or on replay. Appreciate you are for our latest episode here at New York Mets Talk. Myself alongside Richie at Mets Media. Richie, it's been a while, my man. You were away. We missed you. Luckily, you really didn't miss too much when you were gone and you came back. Now things have looked better for the Mets, but appreciate you being back here. We've all been looking forward to this, and thank you all so much, everybody in the chat. I'm going to go down the list quick. I see George, Michael, Scully, Alex, Chris, Andrew, Robert, Michael, Bags, Gerald, great member on the channel, Brandon, all you guys, Aiden, Jay Boogie. Let's go down even further. Brandon, yeah, guys, if I miss any of your comments or questions, by all means, we're going to be taking questions towards the end of the show like we normally do. We probably won't be doing a live caller Q&A today because I will be in attendance at today's game, so I'm very short on time. But we will be taking questions towards the end, I assure you. So make sure you stand pat for that as we are getting ready to recap the series sweep over the Nationals and then preview the series starting tonight against the Dodgers. But let's start off. Richie, how are you doing, my man? Long time no see. How's everything been for you lately?
It feels good to be back home. I was away on the West Coast. I was over in Los Angeles. I actually went to the Dodgers-Angels game last Sunday when the Dodgers absolutely blew them out and Walker Buehler was on the mound. Unfortunately, I only saw Ohtani take one at bat. I honestly forgot that it's a National League game. My stupid mind was thinking I'm going to be able to see Ohtani, at bat and have a full game, but they're in the National League, so he only had one pinch hit and it was a walk. But other than that, it feels good to be home. It was pretty frustrating following the Mets from afar when they were playing this poorly. We had a very important series against the Phillies that we crumbled. We could not do anything against the Marlins. But luckily, right when I get home, we're going up against the Washington Nationals, a must-win series, and the Mets take care of business and sweep them 3-0. The Mets are on a 3-game winning streak for the first time since mid-June. I made a whole video last night on my channel breaking down the series, and I'm excited to break it down even further with you right now. So shout out to everybody in the chat. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day. I'm excited to talk some Mets. Let's do it.
Let's do it indeed, my man. Yeah, I'm very excited to hear your input when we get into the Dodgers preview, especially because you literally saw them in person recently, so you can give us a little bit more of a taste than maybe the other fans have out there that I haven't even seen them in person this year. But I see James PS with a $5 donation. Thank you so much for that, James. Everyone shouted James in the chat. Great subscriber here on the channel. Michael Kane, how's it going, my man? Great member. I had the chance to actually meet Michael when I was in attendance at the Mets game in which they won 8-7. So let's just jump right in, guys. Again, thank you all so much. Make sure to smash that like and subscribe on. Help us get to 100 likes before the end of the stream, whether you're watching this live now or on replay. That's always the first goal. So again, thank you all so much for that. But Richie, let's get right into this series now. This was huge, absolutely pivotal for the Mets to at least take 2 or 3, but realistically, sweep is the best thing we could ask for coming out of that Phillies series in which we got swept ourselves. I was with the 7 line for game 2 of that series, and boy, oh boy, that was tough to watch. But game 1, this series, I was in attendance, had so much fun. It originally, we were streaming on the channel. Cookie Carrasco was on the mound. And then after only pitching 1 inning and giving up 4 runs, thanks to a Juan Soto 3-run shot, and another run came in as well, even after Cookie, I believe, was taken out of the game. Because I'm trying to think who came in after Cookie at that point. I'm forgetting. But no less, the Mets, that game got pushed the following day for a doubleheader 2 days ago. I was in attendance. It was a lot of fun. Had a chance to meet up with a lot of other people. Shout out bigger YouTubers like Matt from Stark Raven Sports, Jack, Jolly, all of you guys all know him by now, especially with his podcast with Jerry Blevins. And stay tuned. We'll be talking about that more next week. But getting into this game, however, the Mets win in a dramatic fashion, 8-7, man. And talking about comeback kings, we haven't seen the Mets they've been resilient all year. We know that. But to take advantage of the opportunities given to them against a Nationals team that going into this series was the worst team in all the NL when it came to actually, for the most part, how many games they were below 500. They were 12 games below 500 going into this thing. So to see them actually execute was massive after being down by 3 runs more than once in the game, it felt like, and then to come back and win 8-7. So Brandon Nimmo was 2 for 5 in this game. Really was looking strong with 2 runs scored. Jeff McNeil was 2 for 4 with 2 runs scored, an RBI and a walk. Pete Alonso, Big Me Pete, baby, 3 for 5, 2 runs scored and an RBI. Dom Smith, 1 for 4 with an RBI and a walk. Michael Conforto, who I have a lot to say about from this series. Loved what I saw from Michael finally. 1 for 4 with 2 RBIs. JD Davis had a great series as well. 2 for 4 with a run scored and an RBI. Brandon Drury, clutch pinch hit RBI there in the 8th, I believe, that ended up help giving the Mets the win in the end. Cookie Carrasco, as I mentioned, did give up 4 runs and only 1 inning pitch because then he didn't pitch the next day. He now has a sub-7 ERA on the year. Not pretty, but again, it was just a rough little start for Cookie. I'm sure his ERA would have been far, far lower had he have had a normal night to pitch and actually get out of the jam he was originally in. Rich Hill then came in to start for that game the second day, and he did not look really any better. He gave up 3 runs of 3 innings, 4 strikeouts. He has just over a 4 ERA on the year. Then Dries Familia came in, had himself a shutdown inning. Miguel Castro, same thing. Trevor May, same thing. And Edwin Diaz had a dominant save, starting off with a strikeout on Juan Soto. Juan didn't even know what he saw. And then the Mets were 4 for 10 in total with runners in scoring position in this game and left 7 on base. And they had that immaculate rally in the 8th inning to get the Mets the actual win in the end, or the Nationals in game 1. So again, thank you all so much, everyone, for chiming in. But Richie, what was your initial reaction to this game 1 and how odd it was going from having a game suspended because, of course, Mets have another rain out. They've been doing it every week, it feels like. But for them to get the win, being down multiple times in the game and still being resilient enough to overcome this adversity, what was your initial reaction to that all?
Yeah, we were losing early on in this game. As we know, it got canceled after we went down, I think, 3-1, I believe. And then Rich Hill came in. He gave up 3 runs right away. But then the bullpen shut the door down. Familia, Castro, Drew Smith, Trevor May, Diaz, all combined for 5 innings with 0 runs scored. That's huge for the bullpen. And not only the bullpen, but the offense is the reason why we won this game. It was so refreshing to finally have the offense come around because that's what's been the issue for this team all season. We know that if this offense has been clicking all the way since April, we would have like 15 more wins because the pitching has been consistent all year. I know the pitching is not as good as it's been due to injuries to DeGrom and Taijuan Walker not playing as well as he did prior to the All-Star break. But the offense really needs to start clicking. It's unfortunate that Lindor has been out for so long, and now Baez is dealing with some tightness in his hip. But it's really good news that Pete Alonso, after having an 0 for 21 skid, absolutely broke out. Michael Conforto broke out. Brandon Nimmo does Brandon Nimmo things. Brandon Drury being the clutchest guy in the planet. I don't understand what's gotten into this guy. He needs to get a lifetime contract because he's so fun to watch. Every time he comes up the bat, I feel like we're just going to win the game. Dom Smith had a good series. Jeff McNeil is still playing on one leg and getting a lot of hits. So it's just an overall perfect example of this Mets team understanding as a club. They look and they're losing by a lot at one point, and they realize if they lose to the Washington Nationals, then the season could potentially be really over. I know there's still a lot of time left, but we're going from, losing the 4-game series to the Miami Marlins, losing the series against the Phillies. We lost first place, and then we have an opportunity to go up against a very bad Nationals team who traded away their best players. The only player you have to worry about on this team is Juan Soto, and then we have to go up against the Giants and the Dodgers for 13 games straight. So this series was going to determine the fate of the season. Obviously, there's still a lot to see what's going to happen with these next upcoming games, but if the Mets crumbled, it would have been really bad. And the Mets clubhouse knew that during the game. I'm sure everybody was in communication. We have to fight back. This is not acceptable. We need to really, deal with adversity properly, doing everything that they've done so well. And they came together. They strung a bunch of hits together, and they came out on top at the end of the game in the bottom of the 8th inning. And wow, this was, I feel like, if the Mets do, win the division eventually, hopefully, I feel like this series is what we're going to look back on, where that really changed everything. Because if you guys remember, adversity is a time to grow. Rough patches are a part of life. It's a part of baseball. And the reality is the Mets went through a very, very rough patch for the past 2 weeks. The injuries were piling up. Our 2 best players in Jacob deGrom has been injured for a long time. Francisco Lindor, right when we feel like he's breaking out offensively, right after the All-Star break, he is gone for a long time. And then we trade for Javi Baez. Baez looks great, and then he goes down with an injury. So we've been dealing with adversity a lot. And this is a big test for the mentality and how they can deal with it. Pete Alonso's always been so optimistic. I absolutely love his mentality and his approach during the press conference, preaching to Mets fans, don't stop believing. Just know it's going to happen. You need to have that mindset. Without Pete Alonso keeping everybody together, I don't know where this Mets team would be. Everyone is, saying like, oh, the Mets really prioritize team chemistry. Look how that turned out. Well, I disagree. I feel like the team chemistry is still there. Everybody is, fighting for each other. They're learning from their mistakes, and they're continuing to grow. This is a very long season, and now they have a very, very big time test coming up.
Yes, they do. But great breakdown as always, Richie. And again, thank you all so much to everyone currently in the chat, whether you're watching this live now or on replay. Shout out to Michael K, my man, again, with the $5 donation. I appreciate that, Michael. Everyone show him some love if you haven't in the chat already. And yeah, in a nutshell, I think what was so important coming into the series was not just executing on the opportunities given to you, but really it's about time the Mets start to have statement games and really show that this is a team that is unbelievably talented. And they just, between luck, endless injuries and adversities, and trust me, this has been the craziest year for the Mets. I can blame them only so much for their lack of success at this point, but I will agree that they have definitely underperformed. There's no denying that over the past week and a half, 2 weeks really since the deadline. So to see them have this win, it's the first time now in a while that the Mets have had this amount of runs. And might add, the Mets have now, after this win, 8-7 in the series opener, have found themselves 9-0 this season when scoring at least 8 runs. So fun fact for you guys out there that maybe didn't know that. And they just unbelievable comeback to do what they did. They've been rallying late. This is something that even in their, dead streak, if you will, of not winning games against Miami, against Philly, they've been packing on runs. Normally it's been a little too late, especially in the 9th inning. So to see them be able to do this, but tack on runs and still get enough where, you're in a hole, but you're still able to come out of it. Like when I was in attendance at this game and it was so much fun to be there and to react live and everything, I didn't for 1 second really have a gut feeling that the Mets weren't going to come back. Every single time they were down, the offense felt different. And this is coming after Zach Scott really called out the team and said that we've been mediocre all year, but especially over the past latest stretch, we've been playing bad baseball. It's simple as that. He also called out players because they have been culprits for their own injuries at times this year, coming with this being a compliance issue with guys either not stretching enough, hydrating enough. Marcus Stroman just said yesterday that he still struggles with hydration, something that he needs to prioritize more. So I think that call out definitely resonated well with this club and kind of just a wake up factor. And again, we'll see what the actual tall test will be tonight with the Dodgers, but no less a huge one for them. And David with another $5 donation. Everyone shouted, Dave, let's beat the LA Bombs. Absolutely. Love you, David. Guys, if you don't know Dave, he's an amazing friend and subscriber on the channel. I just checked my P.O. box, Dave. Thank you so much. He always sends awesome Mets things my way, but I want to show you a couple that in particular that really stood out to me. He sent me, a Steve Cohen reference shirt. You got to believe in Uncle Steve. A Pete Alonso shirt, which was so awesome about the home run derby. Some other things, but this is really cool. I just want to show you guys quick before we get on to the game 2 of this series, because I just got this yesterday. Was this cool, custom Mets shirt. Jersey kind of design. It has the MLB logo. It says baseball on the sleeve here, but then on the front it says Mets, and it has it's probably hard to see because I have it unbuttoned, but it's such a cool little jersey. And then as many of you all know, when Kevin Pillar got drilled in the face, and even before that, I really want his jersey. And I said, the next Mets jersey I get will be Kevin Pillar. Well, David said, you know what, buddy, I'm going to do it for you. Shout out to Dave. Dave was able to get me a really cool, kind of like custom looking jersey, especially because the white looks like white/gray lettering on the back. But Kevin Pillar, that's just absolutely sick. So shout out to you, Dave. I really, really appreciate you, my man. So everyone share some more love in the chat for Dave Kaplowitz. He's an absolute beauty. I can't wait to wear that Pillar jersey play. I know he's been struggling, don't get me wrong, but I still love Kevin Pillar through thick and thin. So now let's get into game 2 of this series. This was a doubleheader. I was supposed to be here for this game, but it got rained out, and then it happened yesterday. And it would have been too hectic for me to unfortunately go to all these games in a short period of time because I'm going again today. I live out of state, if you guys don't know. But game 2 in this series, Marcus Stroman's on the bump. What a start he had, might I add. This was another quality start from Stroman. Really, you can make the argument Marcus Stroman has been the best pitcher for the Mets all year. And I know you're saying, whoa, wait, what? Marcus Stroman's been the best pitcher over Jacob deGrom? And what I mean by that is consistency, reliability. There has been no one in this rotation that has been more reliable and more consistent all season long than Marcus Stroman. And whether you love him or hate him, based on his performance or on his personality, whatever it is, you cannot deny how pivotal he has been in this Mets rotation this year. Just absolutely lights out. He gave the Mets 5.1 innings pitch, only giving up 1 run, 8 strikeouts. He did have a little time where he got a little dizzy because it was unbelievably hot yesterday in the day game, and he struggles with hydration, he said himself. But no less, he had 5.1 innings out of a 7-inning game and now has a 2.79 ERA on the year. Even had himself a bunt single that ended up being a run scored. It was beautifully placed by Stroman. So let's get into this game now. They win 4-1. Brandon Nimmo stays hot. 2nd consecutive game now with consistent hits. 3 games, I should say, because he had 2 hits on Zach Wheeler right at the end of the Phillies series, and he was the only guy that actually got hits for the Mets in that game. Brandon Nimmo, though, 2 for 4, runs scored, 4 RBIs, thanks to an absolute bomb of a home run. Shout out Brandon Nimmo. He's not much of a home run king, but he really stood out there for sure early in this game. Dom Smith, 2 for 3. Jeff McNeil, 1 for 3. Jonathan Villar, 1 for 3 with a run scored. Villar had another solid series. Michael Conforto, be like Mike, baby. This guy's hitting for opposite field and for power. What? Michael Conforto, dare I say, is this man coming back? He's getting awfully close, folks. This was the best series I've seen Michael Conforto play all year long. I'm so excited to talk about him in game 3 of this, too. So 2 for 3 with a run scored. Tomas Nido, 1 for 3. Stroman, 1 for 2, as I mentioned. Then after Stroman was out of the game, Aaron Loop, there it is, baby. 0.2 innings pitch. He has a 1.19 ERA now in the season. This guy, give him every Busch Light he could potentially drink. Trust me, it doesn't matter. He's still going to be an absolute stud out of the pen. Then you have Edwin Diaz shutting it down for the 2nd consecutive game over the past 24 hours to get the save. Mets were 2 for 9 in runners in scoring position, so not great, and left 7 on base, but they got the job done and held the Nationals to only 1 run in game 2. So, Richie, give me your initial reaction in game 2. Marcus Stroman, I know you love the man, so I'm going to let you run with it.
Yeah, Marcus Stroman is easily one of my favorite Mets. I really, really love everything about him. I love his personality, number one, and I love his whole approach to the game of baseball and his play on the baseball mound. Absolutely. I feel like Marcus Stroman, I love that you said that he's been the best pitcher on the team this year. Obviously, you can't really compare him to DeGrom because DeGrom has been injured half the year. Stroman's been, healthy for the most part throughout the entire season. He has a sub-3 ERA, 2.79. He should have been the all-star this year, to be honest, because Taijuan Walker, unfortunately for him, he is just really struggling ever since the all-star break. I still have confidence in him, but Marcus Stroman has undoubtedly been the guy to really rely on. Whenever he's on the mound, he's must-watch TV for me. He fields his position better than anybody else in the entire league. That bunt single that you mentioned, if it wasn't for that bunt single, Brandon Nimmo would not have had a 3-run home run. There was 2 outs, and Jonathan Villar on first base. Marcus Stroman puts the bunt on. He gets on base, 1st and 2nd, 2 outs. Brandon Nimmo hits a 3-run homer. So who knows what that game would have happened if Marcus Stroman, swung and missed in that game, in that at bat, and he got out. Then Brandon Nimmo would not have a 3-run homer. So I can just go on and how important Marcus Stroman is for this team. I love his approach to life. I love everything about him. He really brings a positive energy, a positive spin on everything. He's always tweeting out optimistic things about everything. And I just really love that Marcus Stroman has been so consistent all season long, because he is somebody that we needed to have play this well, especially with Jacob deGrom going down with an unfortunate injury. It was really detrimental to the team. Jacob deGrom, I think we won like 8 straight deGrom starts, which is pretty insane because that usually never happens. And then deGrom went down with an injury, so Stroman had to step up. It was somebody in this rotation who's going to be the consistent guy every 5th day, and it's been Marcus Stroman. Tyler McGill, he's been absolutely lights out when he's first started, but he's coming down to earth a little bit, getting a little roughed up, but I still love what I'm seeing from McGill. Rich Hill, we know what we're getting from him, and then hopefully we can get a Taiwan Walker that can, get back to the ways prior to the All-Star break. So I can just go on and on about Marcus Stroman. But then Brendan Nimmo, how about him getting all 4 RBIs in this one with a seed of a home run, a pure line drive to right field. Pull that, baby. Love that. And then Aaron Loop. What else can you say about this man? Easily the best southpaw bullpen pitcher in the league. I mean, not easily, but he has to be up there. His ERA is absolutely ridiculous. He comes in any situation. You can just get him. All he needs to do is 1 or 2 outs in sticky situations, and he gets out of it every single time. And then Edwin Diaz with back-to-back saves. This is huge. People realize that when Edwin Diaz blows a save, it's such a big deal. People boo him. People hate him. People say he sucks. We should have replaced him. And then when he is lights out, it seems like no one really cares. Like, oh, okay, They don't really, appreciate the fact that Edwin Diaz has been very good this year. He's been consistent. Yes. Are there times when Edwin Diaz comes in and blows a save? Yes. Are there times when he comes in a non-save situation and gives up a lot of runs? Yes. But if you look at the stats outside of his ERA, if you look at the save situations, I don't know it off the top of my head, but has a lot of saves to the amount of he's blown. So I love Edwin Diaz. He is a pivotal part to this team, and it's really good sign that he was able to shut the door twice in this series in back-to-back games. This was a must-win for the Mets. I feel like this game is the exact formula of how we've been successful all season long, playing at home at Citi Field, barely scoring any runs, and winning with pitching and defense. That's exactly how we won this game, and it was awesome in a 7-inning game. This was a must-win. We won this series, and then we'll get into Game 3, which eventually we swept the series.
Yeah, so let's just jump right into Game 3. Again, thank you all so much to everybody chiming in. Smash that like and subscribe button if you haven't. For more consistent Mets coverage as always, and also my man Richie at Mets Media. He does a lot of great things that are all Mets related as well. So please make sure to check him out whenever you get the chance. But Game 3, this was the series sweep, and this was the most heart attack series sweep you could really ask for, because the Mets, very similar to Game 1, found themselves with a multi-run lead. Literally the same exact kind of thing. And then they ended up falling, and we're going to get into that. But let's start off. The Mets won 5-4 here, but they had an early lead, as we know. It was a low-scoring game for a while. Trevor Williams made his Mets debut, was a part of the Javi Baez trade, if you guys don't know. Williams, who's originally a Pittsburgh Pirate, first year now with the Chicago Cubs, I believe. Not a great ERA, just around 5 or just under 5 going into this game. Was looking solid with the Syracuse, however, in AAA, because that's where the Mets had him. And that was one of the biggest reasons why the Mets got him over, say, a Zach Davies from the Cubs, because they liked his ability to be optioned still to AAA if they needed him to, given their pitching depth. So they bring him up now as the 27th man in this Game 2, and he looks like an absolute stud, especially when you look at what the Mets need for pitching depth, whether you're going to be a long reliever, a spot starter, however it's going to be. Trevor Williams is going to be very versatile with this club down the stretch, I assure you. Now you look at Williams, 4.1 innings pitched. Did give up a run. That's it, though. 2 strikeouts, and now has a 4.86 ERA on the year. Really liked what I saw at times from Trevor there. Another Trevor, and shout out to him. If you guys don't know, when Trevor May signed with the Mets, going back when the beginning of the offseason, Trevor Williams replied to him and said, one Trevor down, no, it's my time. It's like the times of the Trevors in free agency. And there are a lot of people at the time, including myself, that say Mets sign him. And here we are months later, and they trade for him. It's kind of a fun story how everything kind of circled itself together. But no less, Pete Alonso was 3 for 4 in this game with a run scored, an RBI, and a clutch walk-off home run. But before we get there, I just want to go over the overall numbers and break down how this game unveiled towards the end here. Michael Conforto, another multi-hit game. He had hits in every single game in this series. I am jumping for joy as a Michael Conforto stan. It feels so good to see Michael actually thrive for once, hitting for opposite field as well. As I mentioned, 2 for 3 with 2 runs scored. JD Double D Davis, 1 for 2, and an RBI and a walk. Jonathan VR pimped a home run, was 3 for 3 in this game with a run scored and 2 RBI. Shout out to VR as well. Played in every single game of this series, especially with Javi Baez not being 100%. Shout out to VR. He had a damn good series. James McCann, 1 for 3. Trevor Williams, as I said, solid pitching. Seth Lugo came in 1.2 innings pitched. No problem for Seth. Trevor May, however, did not have a May day. Let me break it down this way. Trevor May, who's been pretty solid for the Mets all year long, has had his rough stretches here or there. but really did not look good as the Mets needed him to. They
You
tried
appreciate
to get
Edwin
with
Diaz
May.
now, don't you guys? You appreciate Diaz, huh?
Exactly. So May, who is not normally a save artist for the Mets, but when you had Edwin on back-to-back nights, it made sense why they didn't have him in this game. But May comes in, he gives up 3 earned runs and only 0.1 innings pitched, was only able to record 1 out. Jeurys Familia comes in and was able to lessen the blow. But at that point in the game, the Mets were tied 4-4 after originally leading by 3 runs, as I mentioned. We go now to the bottom of the 7th. And this is the bottom of the 9th because it's a 7-inning game. Pete Alonso comes to play, absolutely pimps. And I mean pimps. And no doubt, Big Meat Pete bomb. And that wins it for the Mets. I was jumping out of my chair. I was so pumped up. I'm so happy that the Mets won in that fashion. Pete Alonso, the same guy who got criticized left and right over this past week because he says, believe in us, trust in us, smile, everything's going to be all right. We know that usually doesn't resonate well when it comes to New York media, let alone fans of a New York club. But give credit where credit's due. Pete backed up his word. He got it didn't matter that the Mets won the previous 2 games in the series and won the series. And they did not win this series, especially blowing after having a multi-run lead in the equivalent to a 9th inning. That would have been a sour taste in their mouth going into this series against the Dodgers tonight. So thank goodness that Pete Alonso was able to get the walk-off and really build this momentum for this club, show the adversity and the resilience that they have overcoming this adversity. And damn, that's just such a good feeling. Again, it's not ideal to be down and giving up these kind of runs to a Nationals team that is abysmal, but at least they were able to get the series sweep, even if it wasn't pretty. They desperately needed it. So Richie, what was your reaction to this game, the series sweep, and ultimately that walk-off by Big Meat Pete Alonso?
Yeah, man. I don't know about you. When Pete did hit that, it wasn't a no-doubter in my mind just because he got under it a little bit. And I was so scared it was just going to be right at the track and he was going to catch it and I'm going to literally punch myself in the face. But when that thing went over the wall, it was such a sigh of relief because I was watching the game in the top of the 7th, watching the Mets blow that. You're just like, oh no, we already won the series, but it doesn't even matter because if we lose
100%.
this game, the series win would not mean anything. You need to sweep the Nationals with nobody on the team besides Juan Soto. And I'm honestly happy they blew it so Pete can get that game-winning home run. When it came to bat, Gary Cohen said that he has 24 home runs. And in my head, I'm like, it's a perfect time for 25, Pete. Let's see it. You broke out this series. You have not you do not have a home run in this series. You've been getting base hits after doubles. Now it's time to hit your bomb. It's exactly what he does. Inside, turns on it. He gets on top of it, and it's a moonshot of a home run. Big Meat Pete wins it for the Mets. Trevor Williams in his debut looked absolutely spectacular. You cannot ask for more from a guy that we traded for from the Chicago Cubs. 4.1 innings, only 1 earned run. I love what I saw from him. Seth Lugo, 1.2 innings, 0 earned runs. And then we know what happened with Trevor May and Jeurys Familia. But hey, you got to love what you saw from this entire Mets team throughout this entire series. Michael Conforto breaking out 2 for 3 in this game. J.D. Davis with an RBI. Pete Alonso 3 for 4. And Jonathan Villar with 2 RBIs, a piss missile of a home run, 3 for 3. The offense broke out. Again, we're going up against a very bad team in the Washington Nationals. So hopefully this can really boost some confidence because now we're going up against the best teams in the National League coming up. But man, that win felt good. I'd love that it capped off the series win. Or should I say the series sweep with a walk-off, especially from Pete Alonso, who was the one that was preaching to Mets fans to stay patient, stay happy, believe in us. Don't worry, we're going to be good. We need people like Pete to do that, guys. I hate the hate, but it's reality with sports. You know, when we're losing, it's toxic. When we're winning, it's absolutely jubilant. So that's just the reality of everything. But guys, just stick with this team, root for them. Just understand that it's a roller coaster ride. It's unfortunate that we're not, the Giants or the Dodgers where we're 30 games over 500. We're having a little rough patch right now, but I love where this Mets team did. They really proved to be a resilient club, and they took care of business where they needed to the most against a team that has nobody on the team besides Juan Soto. And yes, I understand that the Nationals are a team where we shouldn't be jumping for joy about winning against. But if you remember, we've been losing against bad teams all year. So it feels good to finally do it. It's a big deal. If we lost the series, like I said earlier, guys, it would have been even more of a big deal. So now we got a big test. This next stretch is going to really determine the Mets, season. Hopefully we can at least go 500.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
I mean, look, if the Mets can somehow, some way go 500 in this 13 game stretch against the two best teams in baseball, I'll be content with that. More than content. I think that's a tall task in itself, but we'll see. This again, this is the big test. But before we even go with further on there, I just want to say that again, thank you all so much, everyone chiming in the chat. Smash that like and subscribe on. Help us get to 100 likes by the end of the stream, and help us get to 10K subs by the end of the season. And make sure to subscribe to my man Richie at Mets Media if you haven't checked him out already. But what was so pivotal about this series is I love that you pointed out the Mets haven't been good against bad teams this year. Because let's face it, the Mets, given all the adversities that they faced one way or another, they have taken zero advantage of the opportunities given them. They have lost series to the Pittsburgh Pirates or split. They've lost 3-4 of the Marlins. They got swept by the Phillies, with the Phillies just getting hot. But up to this point, the Phillies have been a worse team than the Mets this year up until the second half now. So much frustration has went into myself and all of us Mets fans with them not taking advantage of the opportunities given them when they have a healthy and more than enough competent lineup. Guys simply underperforming by, just for one reason or another. Don't get me wrong. Every guy has their reasons. Injury is a huge thing of it. I 100% understand that. But man, oh man, you still expect better from this club because the talent is still oozing out of them. So they have a tall task coming up. There's absolutely no denying that. But to get the series sweep, it's something they had to do, and it's something that I fully expect them to at least try to do more going down the stretch. There's one benefit from the National side of things. The Mets play the Nationals more than any other club down the stretch. Up until this series, they were playing them 11 more times before the season ends. Now you cut 11 minus 3. There you go. But still, the Mets play them plenty before the end of the year. The Mets aren't just playing the Nationals. They play some other teams that are not as superior as them down the stretch. And those are the games you need to jump on with the assumption that you don't have a good matchup these next 13 games against the Giants and Dodgers. If you don't, then you especially need to make sure that you jump on these and try to make sure you can hopefully solidify and win this division. Because now the Mets currently, at the time being live here, are only a half game out of first place, thanks to the Braves getting absolutely whooped yesterday by the Reds. And now the Reds are in town in Philly against the Phillies with Zach Wheeler on the mound. So big series. Reds have been hot. As we know, they're trying to do all they can to crawl into a wild card spot. They've been biting on the ankles of the Padres as well for that spot. So we'll see what happens. But now we're going to get into this massive series against the Dodgers. I don't know how it's going to go, to be quite honest with you. I'm both excited and anxious as ever. I think it can go either in a really positive way where it has us jumping for joy, having us think this is a World Series win. If they end up really showing their best baseball that they've had all year, or it can make the Mets come back to reality and say if they do lose the series. And it wouldn't be surprising given how stacked this Dodgers club is that just came out of Philly, unlike the Mets, and won that series 2-1. They did not sweep, but they did win that series in pretty dominant fashion outside that final game where, they just cared about winning the series at the end of the day. But the Dodgers right now, folks, are 69-46 on the season. They aren't even first in their division because the Giants have just been that otherworldly all year long. Any of the Padres, who are a pretty damn good team as well, even with the injuries that they've faced, including Tatis Jr., who's trying to still work himself out potentially in the outfield to actually avoid season-ending surgery. But they won their series against the Phillies. They have a stacked club. They have an all-star lineup. We all know that. And then they added Trey Turner and Max Scherzer at the trade deadline just to solidify how damn good of a team they are. All-stars at every single position. And the Mets face the absolute heart of their rotation in the series starting tonight. I'm not excited for it. I'm really not. We have Urias, however you pronounce the man's name, the Southpaw. Mets, one, have been absolute dog what against Southpaws this year. And two, Urias has been one of the best Southpaws in all baseball this year. He's 13-3 on the year, 3.41 ERA. Tyler McGill is the starter for the Mets. I saw him back when he was in Philly. Didn't have a terrible start, nothing great, but again, the Mets just didn't do anything offensively to back him up. McGill is coming off of his worst 2 starts of his young career. Nothing crazy. He's still been solid, but again, you hopefully can get more depth out of him. If the Mets can get 5 or 6 innings out of him, that'd be more than enough today, hopefully, to keep
What's his ERA now?
He only has a 3.2 ERA. So Miguel isn't pitching bad, but he hasn't gone deep into games either. In his young career, what I've noticed is that his pitch count goes up really quick. And this is a Dodgers team that has, a stud lineup 1 through 9. So it's not going to be any easier. 1 and 2 on the season, however, that is tonight in the blackout jersey night. So if you guys are going to the game tonight, look out for your boy Wardy. I will be in attendance. I'll be walking around playing at times as 2, I'm sure. And everyone's going to be blacked out. I cannot wait to be there. But tomorrow, game 2 will probably, in my mind, maybe the toughest game when it comes to rotation-wise, but who knows, because game 3 won't be much easier. Walker Buehler, who is arguably the best pitcher in baseball right now, not named Zach Wheeler, has a 12-2 win-loss record, has been one of the most consistent pitchers in baseball since he came in the league. A 2.13 ERA. This guy, he's almost a guaranteed win every single time he gets on the mound. He will be an unbelievably tall task for the Mets. Facing off against Taijuan Walker. Taijuan, who had a solid outing. I believe he gave up 3 runs in Philly, but did have 6 innings pitched, so was better than recent starts. But Walker's 7-7 on the year with a 3.89 ERA. Then game 3. The series deciding game potentially for the Mets. Mad Max Scherzer, of course he is on the mound against the Amazons. 9-4 on the year with a 2.67 ERA. Scherzer's first start with the the Dodgers was a 10K dominant performance and a victory over the Houston Astros, who have been one of the better teams in all baseball as well. So we all know what Mad Max brings. Luckily, though, for the Mets' sake, if there's any positive take out of it, it's knowing that you've seen Max plenty. You know what it takes to do. You know what you have to do in order to win against him. The Mets have done in the past. We'll see if they can potentially do it again. Facing off against Cookie Carrasco, 0-0 on the year, has yet to record a win in his season with the Mets. With a 6.75 ERA. But again, don't put too much stock into his ERA. That's strictly because he gave up 4 runs in 1 inning, and then he wasn't allowed to pitch the next day because it would have messed up his routine. So take that into account. Unbelievably tall task, though. Heart of the rotation. I'm scared shitless. I'm going to be blunt here. I have no clue how this team is going to do. I'm just excited because it's going to be a playoff atmosphere tonight, Richie, and I think you can expect that. I think all Mets fans can this weekend. Any single time the Mets and the Dodgers match up, it's always a good time. You'll always have that playoff type atmosphere and that feeling that, even if the Mets lose the series, a lot of times they do grind out games. We'll see if they can do it here. But there are 3 hitters I'm looking at in this series that stand out to me for the Dodgers. And I really had to nitpick guys because their entire lineup is loaded. One upside is that, yes, Mookie Betts is not playing this series. He was put on the IL on August 11th. So the Mets don't have to worry about one all-star at least. However, they have plenty that they have to deal with, but there's 3 that stand out to me that I think could be the biggest stars of the show for the Dodgers. And it starts off with the man himself and Mr. Cody Bellinger. Belly, who has had a rough go of things this year, mainly because of trust getting healed up and injuries, is batting 180 on the season. But don't let that deceive you. Okay, that's a deceiving number because he has 9 bombs, 28 RBIs, 2 stolen bags, a 630 OPS, Belly, because, again, injuries. But he has been absolutely smoking hot over his past 7 games, hitting 4 home runs, 7 RBIs. He had 2 bombs in 1 game in Philly, and he had 2 bombs, I believe, in a game in his previous series. So he has been absolutely loaded at the plate lately, so expect him to really be swinging for the fences every single chance he gets. Do not forget how amazing of a young player Cody Bellinger is. Max Muncy, who's been arguably one of the best first basemen in all baseball, if not the best first baseman in all baseball in the NL. He's been a stud this year, 268 average, 23 bombs, 65 RBIs, 2 stolen bags, 937 OPS, but I will say he has been cold over his past 7 games, batting under 200, around 180 or so. And my third pick, and I could have went with either Turner, but I'm picking Trey Turner, and don't get me wrong, I'm sure that Justin's going to do just as good, but Trey Turner has been an absolute stud. He's looked really solid so far with the Dodgers, had a couple hits in the Philly series, but Trey Turner does so well against the Mets. There's no avoiding this guy. He is just otherworldly. 317 average, 18 bombs, 50 RBIs, 22 stolen bags for the young man, and 875 OPS, and has been pretty hot as of late. So Trey Turner, Max Muncy, Cody Bellinger. You could have picked 3 different players entirely from the Dodgers to be your hot picks that you think are going to be the biggest problem this series, and rightfully so. But those are my 3 picks. So overall, what is your initial reaction to this series upcoming against the Dodgers? What do you like about it? What do you not like about it? And what was your experience when you were at the Dodgers game? What stood out to you with that lineup and with how deep it is?
Yeah, man. Being at Dodger Stadium, I think that was my second time I've ever been there. It was a very hot day. I was in the sun the whole time. But you know who went yard that game, which was pretty awesome to see? Can you guess?
I'm sorry. Repeat that. I didn't hear you fully.
You know who went yard in that game, which was pretty awesome to see?
For the Dodgers?
For the Dodgers.
Pujols?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Albert Pujols went yard, and I'm like, yo, Albert Pujols is still making plays, and now maybe that's
against the Angels, no less, too. How fitting.
Yeah, I know. That is true. So it was awesome to just be at Dodger Stadium. It's a completely different stadium, the Citi Field. It's like built in a hill. If you walk in from like behind home plate, you're walking in on the top section. if that makes any sense, because you're in a hill and you have to, like, if you're sitting field level, you have to go down instead of like up. It's pretty insane. But the Dodgers, you can just tell that they're an insane team. In the first inning, they scored 3 or 4 runs. The game I was at, it was just the depth on the lineup. Bueller was on the mound. He was dealing like it was nothing. The energy in the Dodger Stadium was different. I was wearing my Mets stuff, and everybody was like, "Yo, the Mets suck. Like, why are you wearing the Mets?" And I'm like, "I'm repping my team no matter what's going on." That was like the heart of their, downfall. So I had nothing positive to say. I had no rebuttal. I couldn't argue with anybody, but I was still repping my New York Mets at Dodger Stadium, even though the Mets weren't even playing. It was fun to wear the orange and blue there. But my biggest takeaway is definitely they look like a World Series champion. They look like a team that's going for the World Series again this year. They look like an organization that built the team properly. They have all the money, resources you need. They have the farm system in order to be able to afford trades like they did with Max Scherzer and Trey Turner. They have a super team. I mean, they're assembling, I think, one of the first super teams, like if you compare it to the NBA, like the Los Angeles Lakers and the Los Angeles Dodgers. I don't know what's good with the LA teams, but they're just assembling super teams. Like, I don't know why, but it was pretty insane to witness that up close and personal. They absolutely obliterated the Angels. It wasn't even close. But this Dodger team coming to town, hopefully we can catch them on jet lag. Or no, they were actually in Philly, right? So they've been on the East Coast for quite a bit.
Yeah.
So the jet lag is not going to be a factor. But we're going up against the heart of the rotation, like you mentioned. The biggest X factor for the series for me is going to be the offense. Can the offense really help out this team? Because we're going up against top tier pitching. So, and the Dodgers offense is so potent where we know the Dodgers are going to put up runs. Like we know that going into the series, expect the Dodgers to put up runs and make it look easy. Can the Mets answer that? Can Pete Alonso continue to be hot? Can Michael Conforto finally stay consistent? Because as we know, Conforto has had 2 or 3 series where he looks absolutely insanely good, and then he goes down and has 4 straight series of looking terrible. Is Jeff McNeil going to continue his consistent hitting? Is Dom Smith? There's so many guys that need to be consistent. So I think the biggest X factor is the offense. We basically just need to score more runs than them. That's obvious. That's how you win ball games. But I want to see a high-scoring performance from the Mets. I'm hoping that we can at least score 4 or 5 runs per game, but that's going to be very hard to do with the pitchers that we're going up against.
Yeah, and you're right. I think, again, it's crazy that I'm looking at this Dodgers club and I'm more concerned about their rotation than I am their starting lineup. And that should be a telltale sign of just how loaded this club is. They have all-stars at every single position. Doesn't matter if it's first, second, third, short, catching, outfield, bullpen, rotation. They have it all. And again, it's going to be huge for them because the Mets are a team that has been shut down plenty this year against subpar pitching. As long as you are a southpaw, you're automatically Mr. Randy Johnson. Like that, the Mets need to somehow, some way jump on Urias tonight. I don't know how they're going to do it. It's going to be an unbelievably tall task. But if they can ride this wave of momentum after the series sweep against the Nationals, that's all you need. Momentum is key in the game of baseball, just like any other sport. It'll prevail you in the end, even if you are playing out of your ass more than what you normally do. And I think the Mets are also going to hone in on this Dodgers atmosphere. They know it's a playoff type thing. They know this is a statement series, okay? The Mets haven't had competition like this all year long. They haven't even hit a competition remotely close to what the LA Dodgers are. And no, they're not just the 2020 shortened season World Series champions. They are a club that has all of what it takes to win. They've been there. They've done that. The Mets haven't had that. The only true competition you could say the Mets have faced this year that has been up to similar style is both the Padres, in which the Mets did very solid against the Padres this year, both home and away, and against the Tampa Bay Rays. And the Mets got absolutely whipped by the Tampa Bay Rays. They got swept in that series, I believe, when they were in Tampa. We streamed it on the channel. It was a horrendous week for myself and many. But when it comes to the LA Dodgers, in order to execute, there's a couple batters in my mind that stand out. And I'm looking at guys that, yes, Pete Alonso, you want him to stand. Absolutely. I don't know if Pete's going to be the big standout, to be quite honest with you. I'm looking at Michael Conforto, and I'm saying this because Michael just came off of his best series of the year. And I think that was a better series for Michael than what he did at times in the Cincinnati series on the road and in Pittsburgh, because those were awesome bombs, but those were few and far in between. It was like you're hitting a bomb or you're hitting nothing. Michael just looks so comfortable at the plate the past couple days. And if he can do the same here, again, I don't expect much from him tonight. I don't even know if he's going to start tonight because it's lefty on lefty. We'll see what happens. But Michael really stands out to me in the series. JD Davis stands out to me in this series a lot too. JD looks comfortable finally. He really was slumping a little bit, really leading up to the trade deadline, and then a little bit after that as well. I think there was a lot of jitters with him with his uncertainty on what was going to happen with him. Absolutely. So to see him really step up with the actual bat this year, having right around a 308 average on the season now, he's like the only Mets hitter that has at least a 300 average, and not even Jeff McNeil. McNeil's been looking solid, but JD, trust on him. He's a guy you can always rely on hitting. So I'm looking at JD. I'm looking at Conforto. And I'm also, again, looking at a guy like a Brandon Nimmo. I think Nimmo's been really hot as of late. He's a guy that will just always get on base for you, regardless of if he's going to, say, get multiple hits or not. I think those three are going to be keys to the Mets' success this series. And then, of course, the Pete Alonsos, the Dom Smiths. If Javi Baez gets any significant time, he's huge swing or miss, but he even tweeted himself yesterday. I think he was making fun of himself, saying he literally put on Twitter, guys, if you didn't see Javi Baez, he said K, home run or K. And I think he was referring to himself. He put home run or K, question mark. I'm like, that's Javi Baez. He hits a home run or he strikes out like 5 times. But it's a tall task for the Mets. Do not get me wrong. But if they somehow, some way can leg out a series win here, damn, that's going to feel good. Going against the Giants and then the Dodgers again. If they can get a statement series like this, it is going to directly impact them for the series going forward here with this tough stretch. And then when that tough stretch is done with, it'll probably be a breath of fresh air for them, no less. And then they will have lesser competition that they realistically should be taking advantage of. Whether they do or not, however, will be yet to be seen. So, Richie, what are 3 players that stand out to you in this series? Because, again, pitching is going to be a big thing from the Mets. Can they step up? Can Tyler McGill? Can Taijuan Walker? Can Cookie Carrasco? Can they give the Mets at least a solid 5-6 innings to keep them within every one of these games? Or is this really going to just be a swing for the fences type game every single time? And the Mets are either going to try to compete in this high-scoring game or they're going to get shelled from great pitching. So what are 3 guys that stand out to you? Let me hear it.
I'm looking at Pete Alonso in particular to continue his hot streak because whenever he's hot, the offense seems to click. I feel like he is the X factor of this offense because Pete Alonso has been the best offensive player on the team all season long. And when Pete Alonso struggles, the offense struggles. When Pete Alonso's on, the entire offense is on. And the next guy is definitely Brandon Nimmo. I think you can argue that he's another X factor for this offense. He's the guy that gets the ball moving. He's the guy that gets on base and gets everything, from the top of the lineup. He's on base. Pete Alonso's up with him, 2-run homer. We saw that stretch where Pete did a home run in the first inning, like back-to-back games or something like that. And then the next one has to be Jonathan Villar. I feel like Jonathan Villar has stepped in at short very well so far for Baez. And whenever he's in the lineup, he seems to be getting hits. He was 3 for 3 yesterday. He's getting on base. He's a great base runner, even though at times he does get picked off. He got picked off the most in the entire MLB. But those are my 3 guys offensively. I'm looking for those 3 to really carry the load. And then when it comes to pitching, the 3 starting pitchers that's going is McGill, Walker, and Cookie, I believe. And you really got to look out for the bullpen as well. Can they close the door? Can they keep the Mets in it? Say we're losing 3 by 3 runs going into the 7th. Can the bullpen hold it down for those like 7, 8, 9 innings to help to give the offense an opportunity to come back? I feel like that's a big component as well. There's so much to dissect going into this series against the potent Dodgers team because the Dodgers are so good everywhere. I don't think they have any weaknesses across the board. And I said it earlier, but the only way we win this series is if our offense absolutely explodes. We need to score 5 runs a game or else we're going to lose every single game. There's not going to be a time where, unless we get really lucky and one of these pitchers have the games of their life, where we're going to win 3-1 or we're going to win 2-1 or 3-0. Not saying it's impossible, but it's very unlikely for that to happen going up against this Dodger team. We need to score runs. We cannot rely on the fundamentals that we've been winning all season long of pitching and defense. The offense needs to break out. They broke out against the Nationals. That was against a very bad team. Now it's time to use that confidence and push it through. And let's see it against a very good team in the Dodgers. Because if the Mets prove to be a team that could compete with the Dodgers and the Giants for the next 12 games, not saying it's going to happen, but it's likely, then the Mets season go. What I mean by that is It was even keel all year. We're in first place. We're in first place. Even though we're in first place, we're losing some games. We're staying afloat. We're staying afloat. And then we hit a really dry patch. We're not in first place anymore. We went all the way down to third place. We're losing. And then now we're trending a little bit up by sweeping the Nationals. And now this is going to determine if we're going really up. Because if we can beat the Dodgers and the Giants and just be competitive and not lose every single game, that's a positive. Because this is going to be very interesting. And I sound like a broken record, but it really is all up to the offense in this series.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. And as I mentioned before, this is a game. This is a series where I don't think the Mets have any, upper hand pitching matchup whatsoever. So if the Dodgers do come out guns a-blazing offensively, can the Mets at least combat that? Is that something that they can do? Is that something that they can do like they did in Cincinnati? Is that something that they can do like they did in Pittsburgh? The difference is those are polar opposite teams when it comes to their pitching staff in depth. So that's going to be really a tall task for the team. And I know that I sound like a broken record as well, but again, this is something that is a little unprecedented in the sense that we haven't seen the Mets face the Dodgers all year, and out of nowhere, we're getting we're getting bit slapped in the face with 13 straight games. It's San Fran, it's LA, it's home and away. I mean, talk about scheduling. The MLB, they knew what they were doing. I think that's disrespectful. First of all, I don't know what gives them any right to have the audacity to make us match up that much against the two best teams of baseball consistently like that too down the stretch when teams are pushing for playoff spots. It is what it is at the end of the day. But the Mets need to try their absolute best to get offense consistently here to at least make things interesting. And the Mets have Tyler McGill, Taijuan Walker, or even Cookie Carrasco. If one of those three can help win the Mets a game this series, damn, that'll be impressive. I'm not even expecting it. So if they can, that's going to be a big, big deal. And it'll be really curious to see how an experienced pitcher like McGill, who's been facing more adversity than usual his past couple starts, is going to do against the best hitting team in baseball. Because remember, guys, the Dodgers are average the most runs per game in all of baseball and also have the lowest team ERA in all of baseball. They are the best in both offense and pitching. It's really, really tough to compete with that when you know that you have a club that knows what it takes to win, just won it all last year, wins the division every single year for basically the past decade, besides this season, as they are on the outside looking in right now. It's the San Fran, because San Fran is just a completely different animal in their own right. And their success has been immaculate this year. I can't down them. I can only respect it. I just hope it doesn't hurt the Mets too much when we match up against them. But Richie, I guess my question to you now, before we wrap things up here and get on to a Q&A for the final 15 minutes or so of the segment, is what is your final thoughts on the series overall? Is there anything further that you would like to share? Are there specific things that you were looking out for or being hopeful for, or maybe something that you didn't mention that you want to get out there before we get on to strictly questions?
Yeah, man, this is just, I'll just say what I said earlier, but in a different way. This is just a really big test for the Mets. You can look at this schedule leading up for the Mets as a positive, because it's really going to determine if the Mets are good enough to compete against the best. And if we want to go for the World Series, you're going to have to do that exact thing. Obviously, the goal this year is the World Series. What else are we in it for? And the only way we can get to the World Series if we can beat teams like the Dodgers and the Giants. So this is a very big opportunity for the Mets to prove to baseball that this dry patch in the past 2 weeks is not who we are. We're a team that's built to win now. We're a team that has good chemistry. We're a team that has really good pitching, good defense, and solid offense. And we're going to go out there and get the job done. The best case scenario for the Mets is go 6-6, go 500, and move on from this. I feel like that would be the best case scenario. Obviously, we're hopeful to exceed that, but unrealistic, because we're going up against the two best teams in the National League. So, buckle up. It's going to be a really interesting 2 weeks as Mets fans. It can go one way or the other, but let's hope that it goes our way, man.
Let's hope it goes our way indeed. And I'm pretty sure they're playing 13 games, so we can't do 6-6, but hopefully we can go for
games.
6-7, 7-6.
7-6.
Look, Richie, if we come back here after all these series are done and the Mets are 500 or greater, dude, I'm gonna throw something and with tears of joy. Like that is.
What are we? We're 4 games over.
Yeah, well, we are 4 games over right now. Correct. We are a half game back.
Yeah, if we finish this stretch still over 500, you're right. You have to pop the bottles.
Absolutely. That's our World Series. And I know that I'm just preparing for us to get swept against Miami again or something, but still, it'll be exciting in the moment, no less. So with that being said, guys, that is going to conclude everything you need to know about the series recap and series sweeping against the Washington Nationals, in which I was at game 1 for, and I'll be at game 1 tonight against the Dodgers series. So we'll see if my good luck can continue. I snapped my 0-for-5 skid. Thank God. I think I'm now 5. I think I'm 6-7 on the year now. I don't know. I'm still in the negative, I think, though, when lost. But big game tonight. We recap the series preview against the Dodgers. So now for the next 15 minutes, guys, for any questions, comments, or concerns you have, we will be starting to address those. We will not be doing a live Q&A because we just don't have enough time today, unfortunately. But we will be taking questions for the next 15 minutes. So again, guys, if you're just chiming in, smash that like and subscribe button, all that great stuff. And again, just appreciate you all being here. We love doing this. So happy to have Richie back here on the channel. It's been a little bit now. So hopefully Richie brings us good luck because, again, I'm not connecting the dots, but I will go there that since Richie has arrived back from LA, the Mets have been undefeated. I don't know. I don't know.
I got to stay in New York more often, guys.
Yeah, I know.
My apologies.
Yeah, it is your fault. You do realize that why they lost all those games too. So you're the reason why we win, but you're also the reason why we lost. So remember that.
All right, at least I'm a factor. I love it, even though it feels like every Mets game I go to, they lose. But
okay, so I see a bunch of questions array. BW says agree. 500 would be best case. Go Warrior. Oh, thank you so much, my man. I appreciate that. How many home runs does VR have on the season? VR has a solid 13. Love that.
Yeah,
Dave, my
insane.
man. Shout out to Dave again. Dave says Field of Dreams game. Thoughts? Richie, did you watch the Field of Dreams game at all?
Yes, I was flipping back and forth with that in the NFL preseason.
The only problem that I had with it was that I was an idiot and did really just trying to present itself, but I wish I watched the movie over again so I really could have, really felt it like all in one motion. That's something that I like to do for build up on things, especially if it's related to something else. So I wish I would have watched the movie again. I saw the movie for the first time a couple years ago. Absolutely loved it. Kevin Costner, you guys know the drill. So to see Kevin there introducing them, to have the music, to have the guys, the camera work was immaculate. I don't know about you, but when they walked out of the corn, it was perfect. To see, Judge, and you see him walking through it, to see everybody, them handshaking Kevin. It was, for anyone that has grown up and had an infatuation with that movie, that really has resonated well with it as one of the better, if not best, baseball movie in history. Again, everyone has their own opinions. I'm not saying it's the best, but it's a really good one in my opinion. Damn, that felt good. That was so picture perfect. And the game itself, shout out to Timmy Anderson. I'm a White Sox fan for the AL. I hopped on that bandwagon like 2 to 3 years ago, right around when James McCann became a White Sox, no less. It was right. I think the trade for Lucas Giolito, when he got traded as a prospect from the Nationals to the White Sox, is when I started hopping on that White Sox train because I knew that they were building something great there. I'm glad I did. They're my favorite team in the AL, and they're doing great things. And to get Timmy Anderson on a walk-off bomb, multiple home runs in this game because if it was in the corner, it's gone. It wasn't a big outfield. That was nuts. So what was your initial reaction to that game, Richie? I think that MLB absolutely needs to do more things like this. It was picture perfect.
Yeah, that's something great for baseball. I feel like this is what we needed to bring every single, baseball fan together and watch a game that has a unique twist to it, that's connecting to a movie that everybody has so much ties to. It brings back nostalgia, brings back all these great memories as a child. They did a great job. I was watching it on I love watching Fox games on MLB and football because for what I have, FiOS, they actually are the only company to do 4K broadcast. So I was watching it in 4K.
That's
holy crap, it was insane. Like when you tune into Fox, if you have FiOS and you have the package, it gives you an option. This is being streamed in 4K if you want to go to that channel. And then if you compare it to like the normal stream to the 4K stream, someone like me, I'm really into that type of stuff, but
so am I.
It was unbelievable, the difference. Like you really can tell. It's like it feels like you're there, you're looking at them, and to be at that field in 4K, the camera work was ridiculous. Being on the field that way, they had so many different unique camera angles, and the game was a classic of its own. That's going to be looked back at, as one of the greatest baseball games in recent memory.
Absolutely. And I love the jerseys too, to give that old look, to be so nostalgic with the times of, the Field of Dreams. And Everything about it was just picture perfect. So shout out to MLB. Ron Manfred, you do a lot of things wrong, but this is one thing you got right. So shout out to you, my friend. All right, so now let's get into more comments and questions here. Timothy, great member on the channel. LFGM, what's up, boys? This will be a tough one. Yes, it will. No denying that. Mike, another member on the channel, says, are you concerned with the schedule? Because the Phillies and Braves has a pretty light schedule and can go on a streak while the Mets are playing the NL All-Stars. Absolutely. There's no denying. I am concerned about the schedule more, given the Mets really the past 2 weeks of performance. I was not as concerned with the schedule to start the second half. Now I am. So I will say that the Mets, they have one of the toughest stretches in baseball going down the stretch here. So I don't know if that is something that's going to really make or break their season or not. Only time will tell. But yeah, Mets absolutely need to take advantage of every opportunity given them down the stretch against lesser teams and need to at least stay afloat against the bigger teams like the Dodgers and the Giants the best they possibly can. But yeah, you're right. I am nervous. 100%. This next 13 games absolutely can make or break the Mets season, to the point where they are so far out of first that there's just no chance of them climbing back, or vice versa, and they somehow prevail in the end. They could find themselves in a little steady lead in first. Who knows? Because Phillies face the Reds tonight. Reds have been really pesky. Joey Votto, he's 37 years of age. He's playing like he's freaking 22. Literally, he's having one of his best offensive years in his career. It is insane what Joey Votto is doing. They got Jesse Winker, Nick Castellanos back, Jonathan India, the rookie that killed the Mets, who grew up a diehard Mets fan. So shout out to Jonathan India. I still love the guy, even though he's a Mets killer. They have some solid pitching at times. We'll see how they do, but really rooting for the Reds this week. I can tell you that much. Braves face the Nationals, so let's go Nats, baby. I'm a Nats fan for the next 3 days. We'll see if they can do better than what they did against the Mets. Braves have been red hot, however, though, outside yesterday. More comments here. Let's see. If you were to pick one player on the Mets to completely go off the second half of this season, who would it be? For me, Michael Conforto. I mean, that writing's on the wall. I'll just shut up. No, Richie, who's your pick?
It was Lindor. It really was Lindor. Oh, it gets me so pissed now that I think about it.
Lindor's healing up well, though, might I add. If you guys don't know, Lindor he's starting to swing the bat now. Lindor looks like he will be back before the month ends for sure.
That's huge. That is really huge. Really good second half. There's so many guys that I can pick. I'm looking at Dom Smith. I feel like Dom Smith has a big bat, and if he's hot, he gets a lot of base hits. He gets a lot of, home runs at times. I wish he would get more home runs, to be honest. I feel like he's lacking in that department. But as long as he gets, hits at runners on base, that's all that matters. I really think that Dom Smith is destined to continue to thrive all throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, Dom's been swinging the bat well. Every series, he's been one of the more consistent hitters for the Mets. Had a rough go of things at times in the first half, but I'm really liking what I'm seeing from him in the second half so far. He's looking better, even on breaking pitches. Remember a couple games ago, I'm trying to think if it wasn't against the Nationals. Well, it was against the Nationals, right? It was game one of the series, but it was the actual game one before the rain out, and then they suspended it to game two when he got at least one of the runs back after Cookie gave up the bomb to Soto. Absolutely ripped a curveball, pull that bad boy, just short of a home run, just like Alonso was short of a dead center home run. So with the double, and then he had a run scored thanks to Dom. But yeah, Dom's been swinging the bat nice. If Dom can execute on breaking curveballs too, it's over. That's something that has been killing the Mets all year. And Dom's been raking against lefties as well. So, I mean, this might be a big game for him tonight. We'll see what happens, however. Brandon says, hey, Worry, are you going live for one of the Dodger games? I'm not. It is mainly because, like I said, I am going to be at the game tonight. Tomorrow, I'm probably going to be occupied. I won't say it's impossible that I stream the Sunday game, but I'm going to say it's unlikely right now. Usually my weekends are a little bit more booked up, especially if I'm going to a game. So I'm going to say for now, I'm not streaming, but if the opportunity arises for Sunday, then I'll try to make it happen. I'll let you guys know. Will Wilmer Flores destroy us? I hope not. Wilmer, he's going to probably hit well against the Mets with the Giants. He's been a very solid player at this point in his career still. Brandon says, question for Richie. What are your thoughts on the Mets and Josh Reddick? Yeah, Richie, what are your thoughts on the Josh Reddick signing? I know that you might not know too much about him, the veteran, but the Mets did just pick him up 2 nights ago, and he's a veteran outfielder that I did a video on the channel that can bring the Mets just some depth, especially solid hitter against righties this year, batting just under 300.
Yeah, I think him and Pete Alonso are going to have a lot of catching up to do after their after
Yep.
their spring training debacle. But yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with adding a veteran like that. You know, we know that this Mets team has had a lot of injuries, and we've not been lucky in that department. So getting more players in the minor league system that could be called up at any time is a very positive thing. I feel like the Mets approach this entire season was to build depth. You know, instead of putting all their money into one or two players, they spread it out. And that's exactly why the Mets have been staying afloat and being in the conversation for first place. Because if, say, they put all their money into two players, like a Trevor Bauer and George Springer, and then those two guys were out all year, then we have no depth whatsoever. Instead, they did this way. And I feel like Josh Reddick, obviously, we're not giving him a lot of money at all, but it's just another example of the Mets, you know, looking out there who's available to make sure that we're ready in case somebody goes down. So it's just another guy that can step in if we have any injuries.
Yep, exactly. And again, as I said in my video, what stands out to him is, yes, we know he's a cheater during his time with the Astros. He's a love him or hate him guy. He's a Met now, so I'm rooting for him as long as he's a New York Met, of course. But again, you're getting a guy that is in the twilight of his career, and he's going to be strictly utilized, I'd imagine, as a late game defensive replacement potentially, because he still has a solid glove and also executing against righty pinch hitting, I'd imagine, because he's been doing far better than the Almoras and the Pilars against the world against the Rays this season while being a lefty. This would be the first Mets lefty bat off the bench since Billy McKinney, who the Mets will probably see this week. I don't believe McKinney has been sent down by the Dodgers. So with the assumption that McKinney is in the lineup still, like at least on the bench for the Dodgers, we're probably going to see Billy Mack back in Queens, and I'm sure Billy Mack is going to have one.
Billy
game,
McKinney
so.
actually had an opportunity to help us out. It was the ninth inning against the Phillies with bases loaded.
I know. And Billy Mack,
he couldn't come through, man.
That's how you know he's pissed off the Mets trade him. So I still love Billy Mack. I wish him nothing but the best. I will always love that man. I'll always be a fan of his after what he did for the Mets in the short stint when they need it most. So keep that in mind. But we're going to be taking a couple more questions, guys, and then we're going to get out of here. What do I think the record for the 13 games will be? I'm not going to predict that, Michael, because I think it's bad juju, or really that I just jinx something when I predict a record. I would like 500 or more, but I'm not going to predict a specific record. Richie, if you want to, by all means, go ahead. But that's something that I try to stay.
I don't know. Maybe 5 wins.
Okay, so you're thinking like 5 and 7?
Yeah, I would take that. We're still over 500.
Yeah, you're right. We are still over 500 then. Oh, I mean, you're right. Yeah, I mean, it would be ideal if we could do a lot better than that, but realistically, we'll see. We'll see. It's going to be really curious when the Mets match up with Mr. Chris Bryant, who felt like he was a New York Met, given everything that led up to that point with the Giants.
Instead, we got Javier.
I know. Baez versus Bryant's going to be fun now, though, because they've never faced off
this weekend. Like, what's the status with him? He has hip tightness.
Has hip tightness. He did pinch hit a couple times. He did not get a hit, however, in the National Series, I don't believe. But Baez might start. If Baez is feeling well enough, I could see him starting tonight because I'm almost certain he has a good track record against Urias. Like, Baez has a damn good OPS this year against lefties. So Baez will probably be one of the biggest standouts of righty bats against lefties that the Mets could utilize tonight. So we'll see. I think Baez would, if he's feeling well enough and like you're not rushing him at the same time, I hope that he gets at least, an at bat or two tonight. That could benefit the Mets. So we'll see how it goes though. But let's see. Who do I think will win, Reds or Red Sox? Well, the Reds and the Red Sox aren't facing off against each other, Jason. So if you're just saying separate games, I hope the Reds win. I'm not saying they're going to because Zach Wheeler's on the mound, but I don't even know who the Red Sox are playing tonight. So I'd have to.
Yeah, the Red Sox and the Mets are plummeting at the same time.
I know. Shout out my man Jared Carrasco. He is covers obviously the Red Sox and is a starting 9 co-host with Dallas Braden for Barstool. Absolutely love. He's like one of my favorite bright spots of Barstool in general because there's not much that I love about Barstool, but he's definitely one of them. He's been saying his pod a lot lately too. He's like, we're going down in this together because he was talking down on the Mets a little bit. He's like, Mets fans, please realize that I want you to succeed. I want you to come out in first, but you're just not playing that well. Like, I have to tell it how it is. And I'm like, don't worry, I'm going to shit on my Red Sox too because, we're going through the same problem. The Red Sox literally scored like 20. What did they score? Like, didn't they score 20 runs 2 nights ago? And then they lost yesterday like 8-1. Like, what's going on? I don't know what's going on with the Red Sox. And unfortunately for them, not to go on a tangent, but they are sliding downward when every other team in that division outside of the Orioles is playing their best baseball of the season and has had the best records in all baseball in the second half. The Yankees, the Blue Jays, and the Rays, they're all killers.
Yeah, it's crazy. My uncle, I've told you this, but he's a diehard Red Sox and a diehard Mets fan.
Yeah.
He grew up that way, and he's going through a rough patch right now. Seeing both of his teams just being in first place all year, and now both of them plummeting at the same time.
Exactly. It's like when you're a diehard fan of numerous teams, like you got the Knicks, the Jets, the Mets, and sometimes you're gonna have both teams playing at once. For his sake, it's the same, but just with the same sport. So when they're both going down at once, you can't even pivot to something because it's just as bad. It's the most frustrating thing as a sports fan when you have more than one of your favorite teams, whether it's for the same sport or various sports, that are all down the dumpster fire together. It doesn't get any worse than that. It really doesn't.
Yeah, and he's a diehard Giants fan. Sorry, all the Giants fans in the chat, but we'll see what happens tomorrow.
What happened with the Giants?
No, nothing happened with the Giants, but he's not too optimistic about them. Giants versus tomorrow, though, preseason. I'm pumped up.
I'm assuming you'll be streaming that?
Unfortunately, I can't. I have a family party.
Oh, okay.
It's on a Saturday night. It's like the worst time. I wish it was not Saturday night. But there's a lot. All three of my teams are playing at the same time. We got another Knicks Summer League game tonight.
Oh, yeah.
We got the Knicks Summer League game. Actually, wow. Tomorrow night, all three of my teams are playing the same exact time. The Mets, the Knicks, and the Jets.
You'll be going through your 3 separate Twitters like every 5 minutes, like tweeting away. That'll be fun.
I gotta go live on all 3 of my YouTube channels at the same time. Somehow.
Yeah, guys, if you're a Knicks and a Jets fan as well, you guys might know Richie because he's more notorious at this point, especially for Jets media and Knicks media. So make sure to check him out and subscribe to all of his channels if you're a 3-headed monster of that trio, because I know a lot of you Mets fans out there are Jets and Knicks fans as well. We got some Nets fans in there. Respectfully, we disagree. If you're a Giants fan, I don't have an issue with Giants or Jets. I'm a Steelers fan, so I'm neutral. They beat the Eagles yesterday. I'm happy with that. It's preseason, but so I have no clue what to expect for them this season. So I'm just riding the wave right now.
Yeah, baby. Knicks looking good in the summer league, though. Sorry, Brooklyn Nets fans, but we talking Knicks on this stream.
We talking Knicks, absolutely. So, all right, we'll do. Let's see if there's any more questions. Okay, I think that's really gonna wrap up today's show, guys. Again, I want to say thank you all so much to everyone that chimed in. This was an absolute blast. We love doing this. We absolutely do. I mean, I look forward to doing these after every series as always. I know that we missed a couple throughout the year, but for the most part, we've been pretty consistent. So again, guys, please make sure to stay tuned for our next Mets talk after this Dodgers series. And just stay tuned for more great content here on the channel. I've had a video that was supposed to get out literally yesterday. Was not able to get out yesterday. Tried to get it out today. At this rate, it might not even come out today, and I'm so sorry, guys. I'll just tell you, it's about Theo Epstein. So if you guys are in the stream, you get the in on the know, because not everyone on the channel is going to be watching this. Mets were reportedly connected. They're looking for a higher up and baseball operations, the team president, like they did back in the offseason, but just couldn't execute on it yet. And Theo Epstein is among the names that could potentially land himself. And I have been advocating heavily for Theo Epstein. Now, I know that there are some negatives that come with that as well, and I will be touching on all that in a video very soon. So if it does not come out today because I'll be at the Mets game, rest assured it will be out very, very soon, guys. So stay tuned for that. Been wanting to get that out. I'm just so frustrated. Time just has not been there nearly enough for me like I've wanted to the past couple days, but it's mainly because I've been at the Mets game or I've been following the Mets one way or another.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch that video because I saw that report about Theo. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I'm pretty pumped about it. So we'll see if anything comes out of that. But no less, guys. Thank you all so much again for chiming in the stream. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. If you're going to the Mets game, look out for your boy Wardy. I will be in attendance for the blackout night, black jersey night. Damn, they're gonna look sexy. So and it's a night game, so they won't be.
Let's get our first win of the black jerseys. I went to the first game with the black jerseys, and the offense completely
kaput. Yeah, Jonathan India, the Mets fan, single-handedly smacked the Mets around that game. So 2 bombs for him. So we'll see. We'll see how the Mets fare tonight against LA. But again, guys, appreciate you all. Please make sure to smash that like and subscribe on. Help us get 100 likes at some point in the stream, whether you're watching this live now or on replay, whenever it is. And make sure to subscribe to my man Richie at Mets Media. But appreciate you all. We'll be having more great content on our respective channels very, very soon. But outside of that, Richie, that's really it. Anything else you guys say before we get out of here?
Yeah. I just want to answer Dylan's question real quick in the chat. Dylan Alex. if you want to hear my thoughts of the whole Zach Wilson thing, go to my Jets media channel. I posted a video, recap my training camp notes video, and then thoughts of yesterday's training camp. So I break down Zach Wilson a lot in those videos, Dylan. So I'm not going to give you my thoughts of it here because I'll be talking about it for 20 minutes. So go check it out over on Jets Media. Appreciate everybody in the chat tuning in to all my channels or this one in particular. It means a lot to have all you guys. I've been getting recognized everywhere I go now, whether it's a Mets game or Jets training camp. You guys are awesome. It feels amazing to, interact with you guys for the first time because I made my Mets channel last year. I made all my channels last year, and it was right in the beginning of the pandemic. So I was unable to, be out there and meet people in person. Same with Wardy. So now we're both experiencing, meeting you guys in person and, talking with you guys, talking some Mets baseball at Citi Field. It feels awesome. So if you're going to the game tonight, make sure you hit up Wardy and go dap him up. We appreciate all you guys. Support means so much to us. And peace out. Let's go Mets. Let's go shock the world.
Let's go shock the world indeed. Appreciate your kind words, Richie. And again, you're absolutely right. There's no better feeling than getting a chance to interact with all you guys at the games or just wherever it's going to be. So know that we really appreciate it more than anything. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be here. But appreciate you guys. Love you guys. Talk to you soon. And let's go Mets, baby.